paid program and does not necessarily express the views or opinions of Equity Media, its management, staff, or affiliates of WBOK 1230.
Now, it's the Monitor's Mic with your host, Stella Cement.
Welcome to the Monitor's Mic, where we talk oversight, policing, and you. I'm Stella Cement, your host and the Independent Police Monitor for the City of New Orleans. With me is Chriselle McGowan, our Deputy Independent Police Monitor. This show is your go-to source for discussing policing, law enforcement oversight, and how it impacts you. We're here to inform and empower you by unraveling the complexities of policing, updating you on the consent decree, and engaging in conversations with leaders, oversight partners, district station captains, deputy chiefs, community organizations working on policing issues, and more. From the Office of the Independent Police Monitor, we offer an independent perspective on city government. The Office of the Independent Police Monitor, OIPM, serves as a crucial civilian oversight body for the New Orleans Police Department, NOPD. We ensure transparency and accountability within the NOPD by making sure the department follows their policies, abides by the consent decree, and is compliant with all local, state, and federal laws. Our office operates independently from the NOPD and the federal monitors, allowing us to provide our impartial perspective on police practices and investigations. What do we do day to day? We take complaints of officer misconduct from the public and from police officers. We review misconduct investigations conducted by the NOPD's Internal Affairs, which is called the Public Integrity Bureau. We're on call 24 hours a day, every day of the year, for officer-involved shootings and critical incidents, and we'll go to the scene and monitor the force investigation from start to finish. We are advisory members of the Use of Force Review Board and disciplinary hearings. We run the Community Police Mediation Program, and we engage the community to ensure your voice, opinions, and concerns are heard. We, your hosts, are not police officers, but we are experienced lawyers from the criminal justice field, dedicated to transparency and accountability. We encourage you to call in today with your questions, comments, and concerns. While we may not address individual cases, we are committed to following up with you. So with that, let's learn more about today's guest. Chriselle?
Well, today we have Captain LaJawn Roberts with us. Captain LaJawn Roberts is the captain of the NOPD's 8th District, a role he took on in December 2002. His district includes the historic French Quarter, the Downtown Development District, the Central Business District, and part of the Marigny. It also covers major venues like the Superdome and Smoothie King Center. Captain Roberts has had a long career with the NOPD, having previously been the commander of the 1st District and the captain of the Special Operations Division. In Special Operations, he managed teams like SWAT, the Violent Offenders Warrant Squad, Major Case Narcotics, K-9, Mounted Unit, and Traffic. A lot of things there. He has also worked in the 4th, 5th, and 6th Districts. He earned a bachelor's degree in criminal justice from Upper Iowa University and a master's in public administration from the University of Phoenix. Captain Roberts also completed advanced training at Northwestern University School of Police Staff and Command in Illinois and teaches leadership programs for the International Association of Chiefs of Police. We are excited to host Captain Roberts on the show today and to learn more about him and the 8th District. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
We're excited to jump right in and start talking about the French Quarter.
Yes.
So recently, and by recently I mean a couple weeks ago, the NOPD worked with other city agencies and community partners and the Louisiana State Police to conduct sweeps in the French Quarter. So can we start there? Can you start by telling our listeners, what is a sweep?
So I actually, just to correct you on my introduction, I took over the 8th District in January of 2023. Actually, right in the beginning. Actually, it was January 1st.
Okay.
Superintendent Michelle Woodfork at the time gave me that opportunity and asked me to take the 8th district. So it was January 1, 2023 when I took that role. But the sweeps in the French Quarter, they're going really well. So a sweep is we strategically plan to deploy throughout the French Quarter, the 8th district, which includes the Marigny and the DDD. And we go throughout that entire area that we strategically plan to hit and just weed out all noncompliance, all complicit behavior, and take enforcement action if necessary. We're not being heavy-handed. We're asking individuals who are non-compliant, who are complicit in their behavior, to stop doing what they're doing. If they cease, then it's good. They move on. If not, we'll take the necessary enforcement action. But that's what we've been doing, and it's been really working out in our favor. We've been getting a lot of kudos and accolades from the business owners, the residents, the stakeholders as to how good a job the sweeps are going.
So, what would you say is the main purpose of the sweeps?
So, as the commander of the 8th district, I've been getting a lot of complaints, a lot of quality of life issue complaints. Right? We're winning as it relates to violent crime and property crime in the 8th district. We're doing really well. We're down in both of those categories. But the quality of life issues started to be a big thorn in my side. So I got with Dr. Avegno, and we came up with a scheme, a plan to identify everybody who has skin in the game needs to be at the table. The NOPD is only one part of the solution to this problem, this quality of life issue. We need everybody at the table that has skin in the game to come in and do their part. The health department, ground transportation bureau, parking enforcement, revenue, code enforcement, NOFD. So all those entities, ATC, we have a big issue with the shot girls. Our NOPD, Central Evidence and Property, we can't confiscate those liquids and bring them to our evidence room and store them. So we need an ATC there to actually to confiscate those shots and those liquor. The health department as well. It's unsanitary what they're doing. They're pouring shots in test tubes. Once they get their money, they go back to the trunk of their car, reload, and out of the same test tubes. So we brought everybody to the table who had skin in the game, all of the pertinent city entities, and we came up with a plan. And we went out and we formulated small groups called MUTs, multi-utility teams, and we strategically go out on several different times of the week, several times of the day, and start weeding out this noncompliance, this complicit activity.
So you used the term quality of life a couple times, and I heard you use different categories of potential crime, like property, violent crime, and then you said quality of life. Can you explain what quality of life means to NOPD? Whenever you're using that term, what are you referencing?
So when I'm talking about quality of life, there's the behaviors that are really non-compliant, those that bring down the quality of life atmosphere in the 8th district, the illegal shot girls, the party buses, the golf carts operating as illegal Ubers, taking fares, the flat iron grills and griddles that people are putting up in front of business owners, restaurants, grilling and selling food products, things of that nature.
Okay, so what I'm hearing, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm hearing potential noise violations might fall into this. Health code, like food preparation,
Yes.
or things that might cause fires.
Yeah.
The blocking of public roadways, parking issues, illegal transportation devices that might cause public safety concerns.
Absolutely, you
So-
hit it correctly on the head.
Okay, so that's the main thing. So
And that's what we want to crack down on in the 8th district. Those are the things that I'm getting a lot of complaints about from the resident stakeholders and the community in that immediate area in the 8th district. So we really, really needed to step up our enforcement on those quality of life issues.
So why now?
So it's long overdue. It's long overdue. And a lot of people are saying, no, we're just doing it now because Super Bowl is coming, but that's not true. This is something that needed to be tackled and needed to be handled immediately. And so we decided, hey, look, this is going too far. We need to really get a hold of this, and we need to do it quick, fast, and in a hurry.
Okay. So let's talk about some of the populations of people that might be affected by these sweeps and how the sweeps might affect them and their livelihoods potentially. And so let's start with musicians and performers. How might musicians and performers be affected by this sweep?
So if everybody's being compliant, and then they're not going to be affected at all. The musicians, we see a lot of the musicians, they'll set up a live entertainment in front of hotels, in front of restaurants, and blare their music at an undesirable level. Mm-hmm. And so we have been making sure that we have our decibel meter readers. We've teamed up with CopState, who bought us 2 decibel meter readers. We have trained our officers, our quality of life officers, our community liaison officers by the health department have been trained to operate those devices. And we ask you several times. We'll give you a warning, say, hey, turn your volume down, it's too loud. It's registering at an undesirable level on the decibel meter reader. If you complicit and continue, if you're non-compliant, we'll actually shut you down and cite you.
Okay, so say they're a brass band. How would that work?
Well, it depends. If it's registering too loud, we'll have to take the necessary enforcement action. But we're working closely with Ethan Elstad, Musicians and Cultural Coalition of New Orleans, MACNO. I have a good rapport with Ethan. He comes to a lot of the French Quarter Management District meetings. We chat, we talk, we discuss repeat offenders. And one we've discussed several times, and we're working on it. We've been getting a lot of compliance with the musicians, a lot of good feedback from Ethan as it relates to the musicians. So we're doing our thing. We're very transparent in how we approach this. You came out on a sweep with us about 3 weeks ago. So I want to ask you your opinion. What did you think about it?
So I went out and I monitored the sweep, and I have to say, yes, everything I observed appeared to be constitutional and to comply with all of NOPD's policies. But importantly, it was respectful. Yeah. I did see officers engage with individuals on the street. The only musicians I saw them engage with were bucket drummers. Who happen to be children, and also it was now close to curfew time, and so they had to go home. But otherwise, I didn't see any tickets issued, and I saw a lot of warnings being issued, and the health department was with y'all and with the decibel reader, and reading the volumes, and I did see employees of businesses coming out and saying thank you, because they do have to work in these settings, and loud volume can eventually damage their hearing. But we also observed, a lot of other things get addressed that I didn't anticipate getting addressed, like the poker machines being visible from the street. I did not know that would be an issue, and that was something that was identified during the sweeps. And I also did not understand the public safety concerns of having cars parked so closely to some of those central walkways, and that was explained to me. And it was interesting to watch the proceeds occur, and I'm truly hopeful that the sweeps will address the problematic behavior, and that we're not going to see people get caught up in them that are abiding by rules.
So yeah, that's good. It's good feedback, and I'm glad to know, and I'll pass it along to my team. And that's one of the things we're not trying to do, be heavy-handed in policing. We're giving several warnings for people to comply and remove or shut down their operation. And we've been getting positive feedback. Everybody's been doing what they're supposed to be doing. And that's one of the things we want to make these sweeps of quality of life sweeps sustainable. We don't want to do just a one and done, and we want to make this sustainable. And we're starting to see that. A lot of the repeat offenders are leaving, not coming back, and people are getting the message that this type of activity will not be tolerated in the 8th District. we're going to keep enforcing the municipal and state laws.
I think it's important that the 8th district, that the French Quarter, be a place that is safe and truthfully comfortable for people to be able to work and live and visit. And a lot of the things that I saw being addressed were factors that would actually diminish your ability to do those things. And I was kind of surprised by the attitude of a few people who kind of suggested that they knew the district attorney and they weren't going to abide by any rule. So that was also enlightening. But I do want to tell the public that we did have full access to the roll call, to every part of the sweep that we wanted to observe. And we did see the collaboration that happened between multiple city agencies and state agencies on those efforts. And my understanding is that the invitation remains open for our office to continue to monitor. And we appreciate any feedback we hear from the public about how these sweeps are being implemented and to let us know how they're going for you. But thank you so much for talking to us about that. And I think we want to take a step back now and
No, I'm sorry. Before we take a step back, I do want to ask you, you mentioned about the sweeps and people being in compliance. What exactly does that mean, like, for vendors? What does that take for them to be in compliance?
So, you have to have an occupational license if you're going to sell a VIN or things that, you can't just set up a pop-up shop in front of someone's business and sell liquor or sell merchandise. And you have to pay your taxes. So that's why we have revenue and that agency are part of these quality of life sweeps with us, So we brought all of the pertinent city entities that have skin in the game to the table and say, hey, you need to be a part of this. And they're buying in and everybody's doing their job.
Okay. All right. That's why I just wanted to let the community know a little bit more about how can they, do these things and be in compliance a bit with make sure they're doing things by law, pretty much. And before we take a step back with Captain Roberts, let's go ahead and take a break.
Trying to grow your business or increase traffic to your location? We can help. WBOK 1230 AM has a number of solutions that will meet your individual needs. Give one of our consultants a call today at 504-582-9420 or email us at info@wbok1230.com. And remember, an investment with WBOK is an investment in our community. Call today.
Norman Robinson is back.
Can you hear me now?
And he's taking no prisoners.
Can you hear me now?
Each weekday, Norman Robinson brings you commentary with Off the Top.
The incident was shocking, disturbing, disgusting, disappointing, and sad.
Each weekday, Off the Top with Norman Robinson is heard exclusively right here.
It's Off the Top with Norman Robinson on WBOK 1230 AM.
So let's take a step back, Captain Roberts. And currently, like you told us, you're the captain of the 8th District. But before that, you actually led the Special Operations Division. And prior to that, you were in the 1st District. So, and running that as the captain. So you have a long history of being in leadership. So what is it like for you actually being the captain of the 8th District at this moment?
I enjoy it. I think this is my favorite assignment. I
Really?
thought, yes, it's such surprising. Huh?
as a resident of the 1st District, as somebody who lives in the 7th Ward, I have to say I'm offended to hear that my district wasn't your favorite assignment, but go on.
Well, look, I thought special operations spent 15 years of my career in special operations division, and I was finally able to command it as the captain. But the 8th District, let me tell you, Chief Woodfork called me when right after her she was sworn in, and she told me, she said, "Hey, I need you to move to the 8th district. I need you to take the 8th district." And I fought with her. I really, I gave her every excuse to not send me to the 8th district.
What were your reservations?
Yeah, I love being in SOD. I had just taken over SOD. I was just getting it to where I wanted it. I had 9 units under my command in SOD, and I was enjoying it. I was really getting things underway. I was running a violent crime beat in VK, and I fought with her. And she told me, "Nope, you're going." And look, I thank her every day because this is probably my most enjoyable assignment as a captain. I really love it. It's different. It's the hub of everything in the city of New Orleans. It's the jewel of the state, the 8th district. We have everything in the 8th district, from the Caesar Superdome, the Smoothie King Center, the Convention Center, all of the major hotels, Bourbon Street, the Downtown Development District, and in the Marigny with Frenchman Street. So, the hospitality industry, when there's 20,000 residents in the 8th district, but you probably have 65 to 70,000 people that come to the 8th district daily to do business there. And so I really love it. City Hall, the headquarters, they're all in the 8th district. So I'm enjoying it. I have a great support of the community, the stakeholders. I've met some very, very good people. My team is the best in the 8th district. I have the best community liaison officers. So I'm enjoying it. And we're getting ready for Super Bowl. It's going to be the 8th district all eyes are going to be on the 8th district worldwide in 2025, February 9th, 2025. Everybody's going to be looking, the whole world. It's going to be a SEER 4 event. It's the most secure event in the world. So we're ready. We're getting excited.
Because a lot of people actually don't realize that the 8th district, like they always think like the French Quarter, right? But they don't realize that it expands so much and encompasses all these venues, like the Convention Center that you mentioned, the Superdome. That's a lot. Those are a lot of venues that actually need to be, policed and stuff. With a lot of tourists and always
absolutely
events and all these things always happening. Always happening.
It's the hub of all special events. Anything that happens in the city, it's going to 9 out of 10 times originate or start in the 8th district. With so the Super Bowl, like I said, is going to be played at the Superdome, which is in the 8th district. The NFL Experience is going to be at the Convention Center. Both team hotels are going to be in the 8th district. The NFL Honors at the Sanger Theater, which is in the 1st but borders the 8th district. So we're ready. We're ready. We're getting excited.
Well, I know that Stella was a little hurt by your comment. So explain to the community and to Stella why and what was different about being a captain in the 1st district that made you, pay for the 8th. But what was different in the 1st?
I love the 1st district as well. Don't get me wrong; it was great. I spent 3 years as the captain in the 1st district. That was my first command. Chief Sean Ferguson at the time, I was his first promotion to captain when he took over. And so I like the 1st. It's mid-city, the Treme. I met Stella on the Bayou, I think, when I had a meeting it was a big meeting as a result of crime, and they held it at the Bayou. And they were ready for me, man. They wanted to they came with pitchforks and fire.
I do want to say I was impressed. It was during COVID.
Yes.
And a lot of districts had shut down their community engagement during the pandemic. And I felt the pandemic was used almost as a way to avoid having to have some of these hard conversations that districts are expected to have with the residents of that area. And I was impressed that you took it outside. Yeah. You brought the town hall you held one in the Bayou, you held one in a park.
Yeah.
And you invited the district attorney's office, who also came. You set up microphones, amps, and the residents were able to come and ask every single question they wanted to ask about the rise in carjacking that was happening at the time.
Yes.
And you stood there for hours while the sun set, answering questions on the Bayou. And that was, I think, the first time
we really,
I monitored anything you were doing, and I was impressed by it.
Thank you. But I like the first district. I had a great staff in the first district. We did a lot of great things. Of course, the first district was my command during the pandemic. And I had a lot of challenges as it relates to that Claiborne underpass right there, And that's the hub of all
A lot of
second lines during on Sundays.
Yes, a lot of Sunday activity.
Sunday activity. Everybody would converge under that overpass, and there was a big party. So I had a lot of challenges under that overpass, especially during COVID. Shutting that down. I got a lot of resistance, especially during that Mardi Gras for shutting that underpass down.
Right.
It was at the time where I had the burnouts were a big thing that were happening under that overpass. I had an individual that a father and a son. The father lost his foot and the son lost his leg as a result of a burnout that went wrong. But my team was the
And
best.
sorry, can you define what a burnout is for anybody who doesn't know?
So a burnout is, that's when they get in the muscle cars and they spin around, screeching the tires, creating smoke, and this is a big stunt show for all to come and watch. And one of those situations turned actually critical, where an individual lost his leg and another one his foot as a result of a burnout that went wrong. So, yeah, I had my challenges in the first district. I enjoyed it. I had some great members on my team that really, really stayed the course and was there with me at all times, and former Superintendent Woodfork, she was my lieutenant when I was in the first, and, she really was there with me all the way through, and we had a great time. And now, look, she's on to bigger and better things. I'm very proud of her and everything she's done.
Okay. Well, Captain Roberts, why don't you let us know what is your favorite thing about running police districts? What's your favorite thing about being captain?
My favorite thing about running a police district, engaging with the community. I enjoy engaging with the community. I enjoy listening to their concerns and trying to fix it. I'm only the face of the district. I kind of steer the ship, but the guys that work in the districts that I've commanded, and they're the boots on the ground doing the real work. And I work alongside of them. I'm not afraid to get out and get my hands dirty and work with those guys. So basically, I enjoy working with the community. I enjoy problem-solving strategies, creating problem-solving strategies, and trying to figure out what's the best course of action to take to remedy a lot of these problems.
So what's the hardest part? I know you have a bunch of people under you that you have to give directives to all the time. So what's the hardest part for you?
The hardest part when the crime and it comes and you're responsible.
Right.
You're responsible for any critical incident that occurs. You're responsible for your officers. Of course, you want to make sure they go home safe at night. In the same condition they came to work every day. You want to make sure they have the resources that they need to do their job effectively. So that's one of the things that I try. And I'm very blessed to be in the 8th District now. I have a COPS 8, the president of COPS 8, Jessica Deach. She's outstanding. She really, really has been there for the 8th District, getting us the resources and the things that we need. She's God sent, and we really appreciate her. She always goes above and beyond to really make sure the officers get what they need. And, that's been a big burden that has been taken off of my shoulders. So, and right now, like I said, the 8th District has been really good to me. I love it. I love all of my assignments, but it's my favorite by far.
Yes, we know you love the 8th District, all right? Shout out to all the French Quarter and Marigny and Downtown Development District people.
Yes. Now, it's a working district. You gotta be, if you're going to be the captain of the 8th District, you got to be there. It's very demanding, so.
And I imagine your time at SOD really helped you gather a lot of leadership skills that you were applying every single day in the 8th. So when you were at SOD, was the greatest challenge that you faced there?
I guess SWAT roles were my big thing. I was able to command a couple of SWAT roles.
What are SWAT roles?
SWAT roles are, they could be anything from barricaded subjects to hostage situations, and someone that's, barricaded themselves in the house, refusing to come out, things of that nature, high risk warrants, things that are very hairy. They really need specialized units to take care of. And so, SWAT roles, I've been on a couple as the commander, and, my ultimate goal is to make sure it ends peacefully and that everybody's safe, especially the officers, especially those victims, and make sure everything has a good outcome,
Well, that's good to hear. You've also done a lot of work when you were at SOD around protests.
Yes.
So, and you did that as a district captain and as the captain of SOD. And whenever I'm saying SOD, I'm saying the Special Operations Division. But what do you think is the police's role in a protest?
That's a good one. So, we're there to ensure that everybody's able to peacefully protest, exercise their First Amendment right. We get a lot of counter protesters. We just want to make sure everything remains peacefully. But we also want to make sure that no one is out there being destructive, destroying property. When we get on protests, one of the things that we really want to do is create an open line of communication between whoever we identify as the informal leader and say, hey, I just want to have a quick 2 minutes of your time. And if you've been out there when I've tried to make contact with some of these protests that's going on, and I say, hey, what's your agenda? What are you trying to accomplish? How long are you going to be out here? I mean, do y'all plan on going mobile? We're here. We're here to, just make sure you are secure in being able to exercise your rights to protest peacefully. We can't have protesters that, decide to block intersections and cripple city operations, the day-to-day operations of the city, prevent EMS, fire, and public safety from accessing certain venues. So that's one of the things we kind of want to iron out in the beginning with whoever is the informal leader. And let's kind of lay out some ground rules and get some understanding, keep that open line of communication. We're not here to try to stop you from exercising your rights. We're just here to make sure everything goes copacetic.
So, what do you wish protesters knew about the police prior to engaging in a protest?
Yeah, we're human just like everybody else. We're here. We're not trying to stop you from exercising your rights. We just want to make sure everything is done peacefully by state municipal law.
So I've actually monitored a couple different police responses to protests, some that occurred in 2020 after the murder of George Floyd, and then some that have occurred more recently at Tulane University. What has been probably your biggest takeaway from working as a police officer during those protests? If there was a lesson learned, something you would tell another department, what would you tell them?
They're very stressful, but time is on your side, especially with, it's like a SWAT role. We kind of joke and say SWAT stands for sit, wait, and talk, but time is on your side. Sometimes a lot of agencies rush in, do things rash, and it comes back to bite them on the you-know-what. But, observe, really strategize with everybody, including the city attorney, your upper echelon, your executive team, and that's what we do. We have clear policy, clear definition of what we're going to do and how we're going to execute. But when we do make a move. We made sure that we crossed all our T's and dotted all our I's and made sure that, hey, this is the last resort. So.
Okay. Well, Captain Roberts, you've been a police officer for over 25 years.
Yeah.
So, what made you become a police officer?
The origin story. We're now asking for your origin story.
Being a police officer, nothing is routine. You know, I love that. You know, when I come to work every day, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if I'm going to, play basketball with juveniles, kids, young adults. I don't know if I'm going to be on a critical incident, a building collapse, a protest. I don't know, an officer-involved shooting. But nothing is routine, and I like that, So it never bores me. So I'm always excited about coming to work and working with my team, the best team that I've ever worked with. So.
And you've always been with the NOPD, correct?
Yes, yes, NOPD. I joined NOPD when I was 23 years old. Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
And did
I'm
you have
24 now?
Should we ask? We're not going to put you to shame, but should we ask what year was that?
That was I joined in 98. 1998.
Okay.
Yes. So, yeah, I'll make 26 years this November,
I make 26 in November as well. I understand. So, did you have any mentors, anybody that you looked up to that were possibly police officers?
Yeah. I have a lot of mentors, One, of course, my pastor, my spiritual mentor. I can call him all the time, and we talk and discuss things, and I tell him a lot of stuff. And, he keeps me grounded in my faith, and, I'm very big on that. Some of the past Superintendent Mike Harrison, I call him right now. He's a former superintendent of New Orleans Police Department and Baltimore PD. I call him all the time, pick his head, and, ask him for some advice. So, yeah, Captain Dimmer, 55-year veteran on this job. He has a wealth of institutional knowledge. So, I always sit and talk to him. We work together at all the special events at the Superdome. But, yeah, I've had a lot of great mentors, on this job.
Well, I know you mentioned your mentors, as you call them, because they have a bunch of knowledge and a wealth of knowledge to give you. But you yourself have been an officer with NOPD for 26 years, as you stated, and you have a lot of information and wealth of knowledge. So, if you or anyone that is interested in becoming a New Orleans police officer, what would you tell them?
Do it. Join, sign. Come on, I'll sign you up right now. I think it's a great opportunity. It's a great job. It's nothing is routine. You're going to enjoy yourself. Make a career out of it. You're going to meet people from all walks of life. I've been on this job 25, almost 26 years. I've made brothers and sisters in that for life. I was on the honor guard for the Special Operations Division, and I carried some of my fellow law enforcement officers, in their casket. And this is a brotherhood. It's we all bleed blue, and I couldn't say how this has made me the man I am today. I really, really have nothing bad to say about this career, this job, this department. It has molded me, and I think it has made me, like I said, the man I am today. And I would recommend everybody who has an interest in law enforcement to join. You won't be disappointed.
Well, it's your time to shine right now. So, if you had your moment to set the record straight with anyone, what do you think people get wrong about PD that you would like to correct?
Yeah, well, we're a different police department from when I joined 25 years ago plus. We're not that heavy-handed police department where those days are gone where we used to just pull up on the corner and jump out and on individuals, put them on the wall, put them on the hood of the police car, and that's a thing of the past. That's not, jump out boys. Yeah, that's what they used to say. But that's a thing of the past. Policing has changed now. NOPD is the model agency for transformation. We're a transparent department. We're doing bigger and better things now. You know, we're not that department that is corrupt or, you know, labeled as that anymore. You know, people come from all over the world to see how we police, how we do things differently, what we're doing to show the successes that we're having. You know, so we're different. We're different. Policing it's not the same. It's changing, and we're evolving with the best practices.
We're happy to hear that. And I will say that recently I know Memphis Police Department was here, and we have heard of police departments from, yes, all over the world coming to visit. I think we're going to take a break right now, and when we return, we're going to want to know more about the changes in NOPD.
Yeah.
Late nights are made for chillin', and you can do just that every Sunday night at 10 p.m. as DJ Wick brings you The Love Zone. It's the perfect way to top off your weekend with your favorite old and new school ballads. So sit back, relax, and let DJ Wick take you to the Love Zone on WBOK 1230 AM and on the World Wide Web at WBOK1230.com.
Hey y'all, it's Chef Bunny, and I'm the host of The Roo, where we will be discussing all things food and NOLA. You can catch me live on air Thursdays at 12:30 p.m., so check out what we'll be cooking up on WBOK 1230 AM.
Hey New Orleans, Tavis Smiley here, inviting you to join me each weekday evening at 7 p.m. right here on WBOK 1230 AM for the Tavis Smiley Show. You can expect great guests and getting the answers you need to know. It's the Tavis Smiley Show on our new home in New Orleans, WBOK 1230 AM.
Tavis Smiley. Ranked number 45 on the Heavy 100 list of the 100 most important radio talk show hosts in America.
And we're back on the Monitor's Mic with Captain Roberts. So recently, as we all know, it was the 19th year anniversary of Hurricane Katrina. So can you share with us, you stayed during the storm, correct?
Yes, absolutely.
Can you share with us what it was like policing during that storm?
Yeah, it was dark times. It was dark times. You know, Hurricane Katrina brought out the best in some police officers and brought out the worst in others. You know, it was dark times. We weren't prepared. I think hindsight 2020, that'll never happen again. We have clear policy and procedure, and we do dry runs and practices as it relates to hurricanes of that nature, that magnitude. But we were unprepared, and we saw some things that gave this department a black eye that'll live forever. You know, but I saw I was in part of the Special Operations Division at that time, and I saw some of my fellow officers do some really heroic and courageous rescues. And, you know, I saw several officers become deserters, abandon their posts. And so it was trying times. It was a very dark moment for the city, this department.
And you mentioned you saw some heroic moments.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, actually, if you're going to feel comfortable talking about it, but your vest is actually in the Smithsonian. Is that right?
That's correct. Can
you tell us why?
Yeah, you know, it was an operation probably about 2 or 3 days after the levees breached. I was part of Special Operations. We were in the Callio Project. I was clad in all of my TAC gear, you know, my tactical vest, my drop holster, my helmet, my long gun. We were doing a rescue in the Callio Project with several other NOPD officers. Salvador Castellon, who's a sergeant now, Valentine Emery, who's a lieutenant with Louisiana State Police, Troop NOLA now. Mm-hmm. And we rescued an infant that was submerged in about 8 feet of water or more and still strapped in a car seat. And I administered CPR to that infant, and we brought her back to life. And as a result of that, that vest was put in the Smithsonian, yes.
That's amazing.
Yes.
And I just want to be clear for the listeners, because I've heard this story before, and it really moved me, that the mother and the baby were in a small rowboat that you were...
We were in what we call Zodiac boats.
Okay.
That was assigned to SOD, and we had run out of gas, and so we were just using oars to pedal.
And somebody tried to jump into the boat, and the
Yeah,
boat
capsized. Yes. We were only taking women and infants at the time, and 2 guys were from the second floor. Well, the water was probably to the second floor of that housing development, and guys jumped from the 3rd floor window into the boat and capsized it, and we were all in the water, and we were able to get the boat upright again, and we were able, Dwayne Sherman at the time and David Waite, they were able to dive and get that baby back into the boat she was still strapped in the car seat. She was about maybe a month or 2 old.
Oh my God.
And I was in the boat. I took her out, and she was lifeless. I thought she was dead. So I started CPR on her, and it took a while, but I heard her cry, and we brought her back. So that was a big thing.
Yeah, you brought her back. That's amazing.
It was a group effort.
A group effort. Well, I will say that I think you hit it right on the head when you said that this brought out the best and it brought out the worst.
Yes.
And I think that is an example. We've heard a lot about the worst.
Yes.
A lot about the worst. I mean, it was just the anniversary of the Danziger Bridge.
Yes.
So we heard a lot about the worst, but I appreciate you talking about some of the best.
Yes.
I really do. That was amazing. I hope that family is okay.
Yes.
So I want to transition, and I want to talk about oversight, because at this point now, since you've been on the force since 1998, you have seen a lot of different iterations of oversight. I mean, you saw the Office of Municipal Investigations, and then we had the consent decree. Well, then we had the Office of the Independent Police Monitor get founded in 2008. Then we had the consent decree get implemented in 2013. And the introduction of federal monitor shortly afterwards. So at this point, coexisting with federal monitors and local oversight, what is it like for you as an officer to work with these oversight agencies?
So, it's necessary. And that's one of the things that I wanted to stress to everybody. It's taxing at times on manpower, and it can be stressful, but it's necessary. It's all necessary. Prior to the consent decree, this department, we were on a one-way street to hell. And it's really transformed the department, and it's a positive. We're doing really, really good right now as a result of the consent decree. We really have transformed. We're a transparent department. We've acquired a lot of new technology. We're modeling best police practices, 21st century policing at its finest. So we're doing all of that, and it's all a result of, us being under consent decree.
What do you think is the biggest change? Like, what's the first thing that jumps to your mind when you think consent decree has changed NOPD? How?
We're more professional.
How so?
You can think about it, just as it relates to, how we handle everything, everything, how we document everything, how we address the public, how we meet the public where they are. We're a more professional police department. We're modeling the 6 pillars of policing at its finest. We're that police department. Everybody comes to see what we're doing. That we're having all the success right now. So it has made us a better department.
So you're giving a very glowing review of the consent decree, but we have heard, a very general disdain of the consent decree or frustration with the consent decree, sometimes from law enforcement. And it's never like an individual officer maybe who's coming forward and saying something, but we hear murmurings, and then that gets captured in the media, or repeated by local leaders. So if you could change an aspect of the consent decree, or if you could talk to us about what about the consent decree do you think has been frustrating? I think the public would like to know, because we always get vague stuff.
The perception of it, I think we have a lot of veterans on the job that don't like change. And the consent decree brought out a lot of change. All those mandates, we had to implement change, and people don't like change. And that's where we got the disdain, the discord, the disconnect, So I think I didn't wish it would last this long, and I'm grateful that we can see the light at the end of the tunnel right now. We're probably close to self-sustainment, and I think we're going to do fine in those 2 years of self-sustainment when we get there. But change really impacted a lot of the veteran officers, and some people couldn't adapt. Some people left as a result of this. Some people lost their jobs because they refused to conform and refused to change. We got a lot of new recruits right now. We're recruiting heavily, and this was that great time for us to indoctrinate them the right way, how to be that model police officer for this department. All those old habits that we had, that's a thing of the past. We got to forget those, and we can't bring those up. And all of the veteran officers with all of the institutional knowledge, we all have to have buy-in, and so we can all reach this self-sustaining moment.
I'm going to keep pushing you on this, because I know that people have criticized aspects of the consent decree, and one thing that has come up, other than just change, which I agree with you, people are reluctant for change, but one of the criticisms we've heard as monitors is this idea of over-discipline, that people leave because of over-discipline. So can you talk to us, give us the real officer perspective? Do you think there's too much discipline in the NOPD now? So
I think, one of the things, the disciplinary matrix, I think, was a little bit egregious. And I think our superintendent now and our previous superintendent, Michelle Woodfork, they were working to revamp the penalty matrix. As it relates to some minor offenses. I think a lot of officers were getting harsh penalties for something that could have been a training issue,
right.
Just a counseling session, just a talking to maybe, and they were getting suspension days. So I think the revamping of the penalty matrix has been introduced, and it's paying dividends, and we're starting to see a change in that.
So I'm going to jump in there and say that the disciplinary matrix is basically like the template that is utilized to decide what the penalty is going to be for a certain offense. Mm-hmm. And so it was created without us knowing exactly what the officer might be accused of later. And it was created to say, like, okay, so force should result in this type of discipline. And it gives you a mitigated down day or penalty. So it might read like 3, 5, 10.
Right.
And that means 3 days if it's like the smallest type of allegation that might fall under this category.
Right.
5 days if it's kind of the median, the norm of what we would expect. And then 10 if it's more extreme. And there are opportunities to step outside of the disciplinary matrix whenever there is something really egregious, or when there's something very minor and you want to be able to have a little bit more flexibility, but otherwise those things were implemented. And I think you're saying that there were times that the more minor offenses would fall into categories that would require a level of discipline that might not be needed. But I also saw the opposite happen. I remember that there was also an officer that was accused of hog tying an individual with handcuffs. And hog tying, for anyone who's not familiar, is where you place an individual on their stomach and you put their arms and legs behind them and restrain them. And that officer was accused of improper use of restraints, which normally you would imagine that offense to be putting handcuffs on too tight. And the result was 3 days. But hog tying someone could result in a lot of detrimental damages because, that's an asphyxiation position. They could potentially even, suffocate when placed in that type of stress position. And there we saw an example of how the disciplinary matrix didn't envision an action. And so the closest offense under the disciplinary matrix led to a disciplinary outcome that I think all of the deputy chiefs agreed wasn't appropriate. So in some ways, you have to have a certain amount of flexibility when you're looking at discipline. And I think you're hitting it, that it's hard to have something that's rigid in place when we have to sometimes be a little bit more dynamic.
So, one of the things that...
Oh, and I see we're going to have to wrap up. So
Okay.
I'm sorry that we're going to have to go out on discipline, but why don't you give us your final thought on it?
So, yeah, as a district captain, we have autonomy to, the penalty matrix. We can go with the presumptive. We can mitigate down or aggravate up, but, cover letter it. Most of the times when I'm doing a disciplinary hearing or a captain's hearing and I have to issue out discipline or I'm suspending somebody for a period of time, I try to see what the root cause of it is. If it's a training issue, if it's something that they just blatantly violated departmental policy, and or is this something that they were just unaware of? So I try to be fair, and I look for that. If it's the baseline, the presumptive, or if I need to move up or mitigate down. So I'm fair in that. Of course, the superintendent is the final authority on everything. And then it goes from me, of course, to the chief deputy superintendent. But I think in some cases, some instances, it is a little egregious. And it may have, the revamping is a must.
It's a valuable experience. Well, thank you so much for coming on today and for sharing your candid opinions on the department and all the changes you've seen and for all your leadership over these years.
And that wraps up our episode today on the Monitor's Mic. And I want to thank you again, Captain Roberts, for appearing today. And I'll also thank our listeners for tuning in and staying engaged with us every week. If you missed any of this show or any other part of our show, you can now find us on our website at www.nolaipm.gov. Again, that's www.nolaipm.gov. So please go there for all our updates. And thank you again. Thank you again, Captain Roberts.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's been my pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Yes.